As we continue our discussion on entrepreneurial thinking, we want to talk about entrepreneurial behaviors. Specifically, we want to understand how entrepreneurial behavior results and influences our mindset and our motivations, and how it's connected to those. Specifically, we're going to take a look at 4 different areas. We're going to talk about confidence and what role that plays in entrepreneurial behavior. We're going to talk about interpersonal relationship skills, how well you work with others, how well you can engage, communicate, and build relationships with others. We're going to talk about social capital, and you may be familiar with financial capital or intellectual capital, but with social capital, we're going to be talking about to what extent you have rich relationships, that you have diverse relationships, and that there are people within your circle and within your network, and within the network of those that you have a network with, and what role that plays in your entrepreneurial success. And then lastly, we'll talk about risk tolerance. We'll also dispel some myths that entrepreneurs are risk-seeking, and instead talking about how entrepreneurs perceive risk differently than others. So we're looking at entrepreneurial behavior, and that will conclude the third part of segment 1 of the Canvas. And so with confidence, different than efficacy, which is more focused on a certain situation, confidence is something that's more of a steady state. It's more the element of, do you generally have confidence? Are you concerned with popular opinion? Are you concerned with being approved? Or are you willing to put yourself out there? Interpersonal relationship skills can play a role in that. What we mean here is some element of either likability or effective communication, and that you can engage with people. This is something that a lot of people would argue we are losing. People are less social than they used to be. Now, you may have 1,000 Facebook friends, but you don't know how to walk into a room where you don't know anyone, and 30 minutes later have met 15 people and know something about them. Why is that the case?
People skills.
People skills. Where do you learn people skills? What class are you taught that in? You typically aren't. We'll teach you math and English and science, but we don't necessarily teach relationship skills. Where do you learn them?
By practice.
Home, community. What do most people do at home these days? You play video games, you watch TV, you browse the internet. No surprise that you don't get good at something that you never practice. So in that way, again, these interpersonal relationship skills play a central role in a lot of entrepreneurial success. Why is that the case? Why did these relationship skills help you?
You're good at talking to people, and they're probably more likely to buy into your idea.
Okay. If you are persuasive, if you are engaging, if you communicate well, people may have more confidence in your idea. I sold you that I was a good golfer, but you feel better about what you're hearing, and or you're more likely to listen and hear people out.
Well, you're not likely to succeed if you don't have, like, friends in the market. That
It helps to have friends. It helps to know people. If I wanted to introduce a product in the Target, what might I do?
You could befriend some of the employees of Target or something.
Okay, so I'd go to the cashier and strike up a conversation.
I mean, you
Okay,
could befriend some of the higher ranking.
so how do I befriend a higher ranking official at Target?
I guess you gotta start out low.
So what do? I have a product. I have the next version of this slide advancer that I think is going to be a big winner. I want to sell it at Target. What does your typical person do? What do? You want to be a vendor for Target.
Set up a meeting.
You go to their website. You try and find the link for how do I complete an application to be a vendor. You fill out that application. They ask you to document for the first 10,000 units that you've sold, who have you sold them to and at what price point. You haven't sold 10,000 units. You cannot complete and submit their application.
Okay.
What else might you do?
Call them.
Who do I call? I call the front desk and say, hey, I'd like to talk to somebody about selling my product with you. What are they going to do? Direct me to their website. Thank you for your interest. Target.com. Goodbye.
I guess you could try and contact someone who already is selling something.
Okay, I could try and partner with someone that already sells to Target
And try and get a connection.
and try and get a connection then, or I could see, do I know anybody?
Who do you know?
I happen to know a fair amount of people that are buyers for Target. How do I know people that are buyers for Target? Networking, or more so people that I went to college with. So in that way, again, it's staying connected with people you know, meeting people that are in your environment, and being aware of what it is they do, where they do it. And these days with LinkedIn and some other online platforms, it's increasingly easier to do that and find these connections. But to have the connections, there's some element of interpersonal skills that play into that on the front end. Social capital is a big piece of that. And social capital, much like financial capital, is kind of the measure of the size, the quality, and diversity of your networks. It's that element of who you know, as well as who they know. Anybody know the president? You know Barack, he knows you.
I know friends with his
No? Didn't ask if you were friends with somebody that knew, but you know him. Okay, so no one is directly connected. Okay, somebody knows somebody that knows him. That's your scenario. So you know
his daughter,
which one?
Malia.
Malia.
Yeah.
How do you know Malia?
Several parties with her.
Several parties. Watch out. Now the NSA in here.
She owns a couple of my bracelets.
Okay.
Right.
So,
Right.
and
My school's right next to her school, and we're like in the same sports group, and so we invite each other to.
okay, so kind of through a school affiliation.
Very official.
Okay. Anybody, and again, not that you met someone one time, but you know them, they know you, you have their cell number, they have your cell number, you know them.
My friend's dad was roommates.
Your friend's dad. So you're a couple of steps away. So I'm talking one step away. So we're still at the one level. Okay, so none of us are directly connected. One person is essentially connected by one.
Wait.
So one step removed.
Our current president? Does it have to be
Yes.
our current president? Okay.
So in that way, again, when you think about social capital, it's not only who you know, but who they know. So all of us are now 2 steps removed from the president. How is that the case?
You know me.
Because we know this guy. All right.
What's your name?
So if you have a message and you tell him he's going to make sure the president gets your message,
I'll tweet at Malia.
Tweeted at her? Is that what you just said?
so in that way, again, it's not a guarantee.
Throw down.
Again, folks, stick with me. It's not a guarantee that you have an avenue that you can use whenever you want. But if you do have something of merit, if you do have something of significance, it's an avenue that you can get connected. The other element of social capital is this element of diversity. Typically, when we think about diversity, we think about age and gender and ethnicity. Particularly in entrepreneurship, I would think about it in terms of profession. Why is it good to know people that do different things?
More opportunities for yourself.
Louder?
Opportunities for yourself.
More opportunities. What's the opportunity?
Can help you with your ideas from a different point of view.
That you can get different points of view. If I have a business idea I'd like to talk with somebody that knows something about marketing. I'd like to talk to somebody that knows something about finance and law. And pending the industry, automotive or airlines or wherever it is that I think my client base is going to be. And if you know people in different areas, it gives you greater access to be able to get diverse and informed opinions. If I know 20 doctors, and that's all I know, that's good if I have an idea that's relevant to doctors. But I still might know something about marketing and finance and law. And I'm stuck looking through the yellow pages or searching Google to try and find somebody that wants to talk to me. And that's difficult to do versus somebody that you already have a relationship with. And so in that way, with this social capital, it certainly helps you be better informed. It helps your creativity because you're getting more input. It helps you be more efficient, and that you're not wandering around trying to find somebody. You know who to talk to, or they can steer you towards somebody to talk to, and you can solve problems better and faster. And in that way, folks with good networks save a lot of time and just get things done at a greater rate. And again, I think it's much easier to keep and maintain the relationships you have as opposed to those that you don't have and need to cultivate. So when we look at risk tolerance, what we're talking about in that element is recognizing that entrepreneurs are not necessarily risk-seeking, but they may perceive risk differently. My friend the chocolatier did not see doing a startup as risky. What might have influenced her decision of not viewing a startup as risky?
Too optimistic.
Too optimistic could be one.
Know someone with a successful startup?
She knows people that had success with it. What if she had worked for big companies and had been laid off 3 times?
You have the experience to start.
Okay, you have some experience, but you also think that a big company might be risky. Because if I've been laid off from 3 different companies before, joining a company is no guarantee of employment in her experience.
After losing your job 3 times, losing your job again doesn't seem like a big
Okay, and you've been there before. You've tried something that didn't work out. So in that way, again, the risk tolerance is very much in kind of the eye of the beholder.
So in summary, we've looked at entrepreneurial behavior, and we've thought about 4 central elements. We've talked about confidence, we've talked about interpersonal relationship skills, we've talked about social capital, and we've talked about risk tolerance. And so in that way, you can go through, you can think about these, you can measure these, and you can also chart these as critical factors to be helpful in developing your entrepreneurial behavior.